Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the weekly Wednesday for the Financial Freedom newsletter, where every week, every Wednesday, we delve into something inspirational, motivational, something excerpt taken from the Financial Freedom weekly newsletter. Wherever you are, if you're listening on Spotify, on iTunes, Google, be sure to click the like, subscribe, share, comment. And without ado, let's get into the show. Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode for the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Liu, and we're recording this on Memorial Day. So wherever you are, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, I'm always focusing on who are the top performers in every industry, getting their insights, distinctions, compounding them, and sharing them with the world. So today I'm really happy to welcome Ruthie to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. So that's a big topic. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I know we were backstage talking. Similar to the physician community, when you tell people you're a physician, people automatically think dollar signs. They see dollar signs, similar to realtors. When you say you're a realtor, people assume you're closing a lot, and you actually have the view that this is not true. So tell us more about that.
Right. So of course, I'm a realtor. I'm also a real estate coach, and I own a real estate brokerage and a real estate school. So I'm kind of wrapped around, that entire umbrella of real estate. And however, I came from an education background. I have a master's in education and teaching English as a second language. And my last job before I took the plunge into real estate was actually coaching educators. I was a technology coach with the Apple Connect Ed grant. So I'm very much about the education. So I've always approached my real estate business as an educator rather than simply just a salesperson. So one of the things that it's very common to hear is, especially now on TikTok and things like that, is that you're going to just make quick, easy money in real estate. And, a lot of people think, hey, I can do it as a side hustle. I'll sell 2-3 houses a year. And that's vacation money. And for some it is, don't get me wrong. There's always the exception to the rule. However, I do see a lot, especially, during COVID and after COVID, the market completely changed and it was very different than ever. And we saw thousands, if not more, people getting the real estate licenses just because it seemed easy, right? So what I noticed, just from being in this business for, close to 8 years now, and like I said, I coach agents, I own and operate a brokerage, is that is the biggest misconception, that you're just going to come in and make money. Because with real estate, it's not that way. It's literally if you do it in person, maybe a 6-week course, like maybe, a few hours a week. And the test is, I think I've taken, I feel like I've taken college exams that, in English Comp 1 or 2 that were more difficult than the real estate test in most states. So with that being said, can you imagine the gaps in different people's success based on their preparation prior to real estate? So yeah, it's a big misconception, because if everyone was prepared the same, then you could expect the same outcome. But everyone is coming from different backgrounds. So that's, it's not a one size fits all at all.
So it's so interesting. I had a couple colleagues in college. They wanted to get they got their real estate brokerage, and one of them got their Series 7, and they were like, yeah, it's, because basically you're selling securities, and, you're licensed to do so. And it was like, you didn't have to go through all this like rigorous, med school, dental, law, all this stuff. So it's quite interesting. And basically, as a realtor, you're facilitating the transaction. So basically you don't have skin in the game but the other thing is, like, realtors, I have, a couple of realtor friends and colleagues, but they basically took they treated it as a full-time income, and they basically said this may not last, so they invested into other things, equities, real estate, cash flowing businesses, entities, etc. So talk to this idea about how your income is not financial security. It's what you do with it, how you spend it, your expense, all of that. Tell the audience more about that.
Absolutely. So with real estate, just like you said, I mean, first of all, it's based on a lot of it is so dependent on the market, right? It's dependent on the market, on your skills, on your ability to market yourself, on your ability to, facilitate that transaction with integrity, recurring business. So with all of that being said, when the market is up, everyone is just so excited, and everyone is, not everyone, but every realtor that does this full time, usually they see their income spike up. And what you see a lot is that most of them, right, nothing changes in their original plan, like in their big life plan. It's just when the market is good, they're buying, more expensive cars, they're taking more expensive trips, where, there's more Instagram photo opportunities versus what a very small, realtors do, which is, reinvest or even reinvest in their business itself and their systems. Because a lot of what I do is that I work with realtors who are thinking, okay, this is great income. How do I stabilize it? So stabilizing that requires foundations, requires systems, requires more knowledge than just like selling a car, right? Because you're running an entire business. So when that happens, first of all, a lot of them do not have that. So they have these ups and downs, and they're not prepared for the downs. And during the ups, they just blow it. So that seems to be a reoccurring thing. So with building like really strong foundations and helping these agents really take their business models from like, hey, this is a job depending on the market, to, hey, this is a retirement plan. Here's my foundation. Here's what I'm going to accomplish. I'm going to invest into this part of my business so that later on I can have an exit plan. Later on, I can either get out and, sell my business, because with real estate, it's not like insurance. So with insurance, you can sell your book, right? If you're doing, casualty and home and auto and all of that, you can sell a book of business to the next agent and get out of the game. With real estate, it's literally what you yourself can produce daily. So the moment a lot of people stop working, they stop making money. So that is not income security at all, because we have no, as obviously as a doctor, we have no control of, our health necessarily, of life events and things like that. So there's a lot of gaps in that. And that's what I usually help cover, because if there's no, you have to plan out a retirement plan. Otherwise, you're sitting there 85 years old and still having to sell the next transaction to make your bills. And that's not, where you want to be. That's not freedom.
Yeah, I love that. And but basically we were talking backstage, and I love this idea how you structured it around education versus sales, so you have, you created this business, but within any industry, there's, you can sell the tools, you can sell the product, sell education. It also reminds me of this idea of the $30,000 millionaire that that is driving a fancy car, doesn't make a lot of money, but all of his friends think, and then he has to work for the rest of his life. So so tell us more. So you talk about this real estate industry as a lot of traditional industry. It's a legacy. There's not much diversity. There's marginalized. So you help with that. You help with,
Oh, I'm so sorry. You froze there for just a minute. You're going to have to repeat that. I apologize.
So you talk about this idea, representation, usually a lot of the traditional industries, legacy industries, financial, are all, dominated by particular race, gender. And so you're speaking up to give empowerment for underrepresented communities, especially for the female. So tell us more about the work that you're doing in that area.
As a coach, of course, I have a specific program that I work mainly with women, right? Because a lot of the real estate coaching is same with the financial and everything, is very male dominated. And while real estate is one of those wonderfully balanced careers where there's a lot of women that do real estate. And I feel like it's one of the few that it's almost even. The coaching and the education and all of the models have been developed by men. And it's usually men who have wives at home and they take care of every other aspect of their business. So they come out and they're like, hey, these are the methods. If you do this, you're going to succeed and your business is going to be amazing. And then you have all of these, women, we come into the force of, the workforce of real estate. And I'll give you an example. Whenever I started into real estate, I was about 6 months pregnant. So I was working my tech education job before. I loved it, but I just thought, hey, it's going to be a good idea to have more flexibility. I have this baby coming. So literally my first, I would say at least year and a half in real estate, I had a baby tied to my chest. Like I had, those carrier things. And I was showing houses with a baby. I was making my calls, between the baby snaps. I had to have, my support system be super strong to either take the baby, and my husband, of course, he worked a 9 to 5. So I didn't have the luxury that a lot of my colleagues did. And I was in a class of very smart, very amazing men who could say, hey, I'm going to work. And they could come to the office, get their morning started early, take their calls. Meanwhile, I'm at home, making sure this baby's fed, getting my other two out the door for school. And somehow I'm supposed to accomplish the same. And, I was able to create systems to really help me. But again, that comes from having been in management for so many years before, which most people don't have that ability. So coming into a business, especially as a minority, right? Because one of the things that it's on and I started out as a KW agent. So on the education 101, it's like, hey, go door knock, right? Door knock your neighborhood. There's a wonderful, pioneer in real estate, Diana Kokoska, and she has this epic story of how she was, I don't remember, she was recently divorced or widowed or something, and she put her two little babies in this little red wagon, and she walked around her neighborhood and knocked on doors and became the neighborhood realtor. Idealistically, that was fantastic to think about, right? That was fantastic for me as a mom. I was like, oh my gosh, I can totally do that. However, I don't know if you stay on, and that never changes, right? That is the same guidebook that they give every agent. And she did this back in like the 70s, right? You give this to a young agent. And that's, again, it sounded great to me. I live in a safe neighborhood. I didn't think anything of it. However, when I tried it, the reception was a little bit off. And I was like, but, I'm walking around with it was a stroller, it wasn't a wagon, but, with my baby, and I'm a safe person to knock on the door. But it was still iffy. It still felt weird. It didn't quite feel safe. Right. And not from like any particular situation, but then you think like, okay, a gentleman opens the door. He sees you by yourself. They look around, they're like, you're by yourself, right? Anything can happen from there, safety wise. And imagine if you are a Black man or a Latino man, or, in just the past couple of weeks, you've heard of so many tragedies of people knocking on the wrong door and things going really, really wrong. So even from that perspective, the book was not written for everyone to succeed. And that is all that repetitively is put out for agents. I've hired every coach in the book to work with, and every time it's like, do this and, go to your parents' wealthy friends and go to where, all of the attorneys in your family hang out. And I'm like, well, I have no attorneys in my family. I have no parents' wealthy friends. Again, it's kind of, as a woman, it is definitely, I don't care what color or race you are, it is dangerous to knock on strangers' doors because anyone can just grab you and take you inside and then you're done for, right? So there's so many things that aren't quite right for everyone. So what I do is that I take those, I kind of take those things and make it okay for it to not be okay. Because I have, as a woman, we always feel guilty for not being able to do the things that everyone else is doing. And as a mom, either you're working too hard or you're parenting too hard. And I make it okay for agents to say, you know what, I don't feel safe in this situation. Let's find an alternative that works. Or, maybe I'm raising a family or I'm taking care of my elderly parents. I'm the oldest in an immigrant family. And that comes with certain responsibilities. I have to take care of the elders. I have to take care of everyone else. So it's okay to say, oh, you know what? I don't wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym and make, 800 calls before noon. No, I don't. I wake up, I get my kids ready for school. I do A, B, C, and D. And then at this time, rather than making 8,000 calls, I schedule coffees, or I do, I just make it okay to develop a system that fits their lives versus them having to literally break themselves to fit a different, like the current book.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And like I said, in this day and age, there's more talk about representation and empowerment, and especially, physical safety, psychological safety, emotional. One thing is, with this real estate market, this post-pandemic world, looming recession, interest rates, commercial real estate crisis, what do you see on the horizon navigating it? And again, this is not financial advice, it's just, we're just discussing ideas here.
I've always looked at things like it's a matter of opportunity and ability to seize those opportunities, right? If everything around it were perfect, it wouldn't be an opportunity. It would just be another Tuesday, right? So very often I tell people, hey, if you are, yes, interest rates are high, right? But what do interest rates do? They lower, interest rates are up, home prices are down, right? The way I do my investing is that I don't mind buying a property under with a really high interest rate, because you can always refinance the interest rate. However, if you were in last seasons and you paid 50,000 over on a home, you're never going to get your 50,000 over back. They were overvalued. While with a interest rate, I mean, yes, it's part of it, but it can be temporary. That can be changed, and you cannot change what you paid for that house. So that's the first thing as it comes to, to properties and the risk. It's very important that people realize, like, it's all about seizing that opportunity. And the second part is with commercial real estate. It depends on where you are and what type of building you're purchasing and what the demand is. At the end of the day, same thing. You own something with real estate. Even if you just pay what it's worth and it doesn't increase in value, and you see yourself like, oh my gosh, it's not cash flowing, or it's not, I need to not have this payment, you just sell it. It's a tangible asset. So it's not always, as long as you're not overpaying for it, when you sell it, the interest rate is gone. When you refinance it, same thing, you can lower it. So it's a lot about just not getting analysis paralysis, which is what most people do. Most people are like, ooh, it looks good, the market looks great, and then they just don't act on it, and then they look back. Right. I bought my very first property back in like 2006, and then my second one in like 2008, 2009. And I just remember, at this point, I have friends, my age that are, maybe on their first home, their second home, and they're just like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have bought back then. But there were those same friends that were like, oh my gosh, your interest rate is going to be like 5 or 6%. Why would you do that? Right. I've refinanced a couple of years later down to like a 2, so definitely one of those things where it's about seizing the opportunity, doing your research, and the market is going to, the market's going to market. And you just have to know your pockets and how to invest.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always, just like you said, there's always niches, there's always opportunities. Real estate is kind of, right now is very, you have the global macro picture, but then you also have like individual local areas. Mm-hmm. Some are flourishing, and, main thing is, don't, avoiding 2008, overhyping, over leveraging, getting in over your head, running the numbers, cash flowing, all of that. And then the other thing is, what's interesting is that a lot of people they're interested in real estate, and they get confused between home ownership and real estate investor, which are two totally different things. They walk into a house, they're like, oh my God, this is so beautiful, $1 million, and it's not, that won't fit for an investment property, but maybe for your home or whatever. But yeah, really interesting discussion. How can people contact you, follow you, reach out to you, and check you out on social media?
Yeah, so they obviously they can follow me on I'm on Instagram, I'm on a lot of things, but I have actually written a book on this is for realtors. They don't have to be super new. They can be whether you're in your first year or in your 10th year. If you haven't reached that stability, then it's definitely a quick read, and they can go to Real Estate and download a free copy of this, as well as they can do a broker realtor survey there, where I will then give them like a free consultation to kind of assess how their marketing is doing and how their business actually stands from an outside look.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, all of Ruthie's resources will be in the links and show notes. And let's thank her for providing a different slant to the traditional real estate guests on the podcast. And with that, thanks so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you really enjoyed that wonderful, inspirational, motivational piece. Again, wherever you are listening, if you liked it, be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We're on everywhere: Spotify, iTunes, Google, Amazon, Audible. And without much ado, be sure to thank this show's sponsors, and we'll see you next week.